All right. So basically, in this lecture, we are going to look at the respiratory system and then answer some questions. Now, the respiratory system, of course, is a system of organs and structure that allow for exchange of gases. Respiration is exchange of gases. Mainly, we take in what oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide between an organism and its environment. What do we breathe in? Oxygen. I will breathe out what? Carbon dioxide. It's something that we know. In humans and many animals, this involves two processes: inhalation, breathing in of oxygen, and exhalation, breathing out of carbon dioxide. What are the features of a respiratory surface? For anything to be considered a respiratory surface, to be effective, a respiratory surface must have the following characteristics. One, large surface area for maximum gas exchange. It must be a moist surface. It must have thin wall to allow for diffusion of the gases. Must be well ventilated to maintain a high concentration gradient. And it must have rich blood supply to quickly transport gases to and from the surface. Now, types of respiration. We have aerobic respiration, and then we have anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is that respiration that requires oxygen. Example is the breakdown of glucose to give us carbon dioxide and water with the release of large amounts of energy. Then anaerobic respiration occurs without oxygen and it produces less energy. It is common in microorganisms and muscles during intense exercise. All right. So in humans, example of anaerobic respiration is when glucose is converted to lactic acid and energy. And when this lactic acid accumulates in your muscle, that is what causes muscle cramp, especially during exercise. So when you have cramp, know that your muscles lack enough energy to metabolize glucose to give us carbon dioxide and water. Instead, because it does not have energy, it uses an alternative pathway whereby glucose is converted to what? Lactic acid. And this buildup of this lactic acid causes what? The muscle spasm, or the muscle spasm, right? Exactly. Then in yeast, glucose is converted to alcohol plus carbon dioxide and energy, muscle pull, right? Exactly. In yeast, glucose is converted to alcohol plus carbon dioxide and energy. Alcohol, and this is what we call fermentation of yeast. It uses anaerobic mechanism. Then we have inhalation. To inhale something means to breathe in. When you inhale, what happens to your rib cage? Just try and inhale something. You discover that your rib cage expands and your diaphragm contracts. As your rib cage is expanding, your diaphragm, it moves down. Are you getting it? It contracts. Something like this, you discover that your diaphragm is like a thin sheet of muscle at the down of your rib cage. It contracts. That means it moves down. The volume of the chest cavity increases and then the pressure word decreases. Air flow into the lungs during inhalation, breathing in. So process of breathing in is called inhalation. These are the activities that takes place. Your rib cage expand, your diaphragm contracts, the volume of chest increases, then the pressure decreases, air flow into the lungs. Then we have exhalation. Rib cage moves down, the diaphragm relaxes, that means it moves up, volume of chest decreases, pressure increases, air is pushed out of the lungs. You are breathing air out. Are you getting it? Some of the organs that we actually use here, you use the bronchi, you use the smaller bronchioles, then we have the alveoli that is present in the lungs. Gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli of the lungs. Although it's not your material, but I just felt the need for you to know that gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli of the lung via diffusion. Alveoli of the lungs. That is where gaseous exchange takes place. Take note of it. All right. So the passage of air from the bronchi to smaller bronchioles, from bronchioles to what? alveoli. Alveoli are tiny pockets of air where gaseous exchange takes place. So we have problems associated with respiration. Asthma. Asthma is an autoimmune disease where airway becomes narrow and inflamed. The pathophysiology of asthma is way complex than the explanation we are giving here. When we talk about pathophysiology, we are talking about how asthma comes about. Now, a condition where the airway becomes narrow and inflamed is an autoimmune disease. It causes wheezing. You hear that wheezing, shortness of breath, coughing, and it can be triggered by dust, cold air, exercise, or allergens like pollen. Then managed with inhalers, bronchodilators, and other different things used to manage asthma, drugs used for asthma. All right. Then we have pneumonia. Pneumonia is an infection of the lungs, could be caused by bacteria. All right. An infection of the lungs that causes inflammation of the air sac, which is the alveoli. The alveoli may fill with fluid or pus, leading to cough, fever, chills, and difficulty breathing. It is caused by bacteria, virus, or fungi, and it is treated with antibiotic or antiviral drug depending on the cause. Then we have bronchitis. Bronchitis is the inflammation of the bronchial tube, causes coughing, mucus production, and breathing difficulties. Bronchitis can be acute, short-term, or chronic, long-term. So acute bronchitis is for a short period of time, while chronic bronchitis is for a long period of time. So these are the diseases that are associated with respiration: asthma, pneumonia, bronchitis, and so on and so forth. Is that okay? So these are some respiratory organs in different organisms. Just take note of them. Unicellular organism uses general body surface. Worms, this worm, like here, they use body surface. Insects use spiracle. Toad, birds, mammals, reptiles use lungs. Toad and fish also use gills. So toad can use lung. Toad and fish, especially the tadpoles, they use gills, right? Then toad can also use skin, which is called cutaneous respiration. You can also use skin for respiration. Cutaneous respiration. Take note. Then leaves respire via stomata, and then stems respire via lenticels. Take note of the various respiratory organs here. Unicellular organisms use their general body surface. Worms use body surface. Insects use what? Spiracle. Toad, bird, mammal, reptile use lung. Toad and fish can also use gills. Toad can also use their skin, which I say is cutaneous respiration. And then leaves use stomata, and then stems use lenticels. Is that okay? So that is that. We have some questions here. Which of the following is not a feature of a good respiratory surface? Large surface area, dry surface, moist surface, rich blood supply. Of course, we say every other thing here apart from dry surface. A good respiratory system should not be dry. All right. What gas is primarily taken in during inhalation? What do we breathe in? Oxygen. Which structure controls the movement of the diaphragm? Now, it is the brainstem that controls the movement of the diaphragm. What happens during inhalation? This one is a very simple something. What happens during, what is this now? What happens during inhalation? Now, contrast and move down replaces this. What contrast and move down? Okay. All that. Everything we've learned so far is what you actually find here. All right. Then, which organ is used for gas exchange in fish? Of course, it's gills. The catacurrent flow in fish occurs between what? Is it water and oxygen, blood and gills, blood and water? It occurs between what? The countercurrent flow. I said something about countercurrent flow here. under circulation. Say ventilation in field refers to the process of moving water over gills to enable the exchange of gases, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Are you getting it? Moving water over the gills to enable the exchange. So the question now is, let's come back. Countercurrent flow in fish occurs between water and oxygen, blood and gills, blood and water, oxygen and gills. Correct answer is what? Blood and water. Are you getting it? So that you can exchange what? Oxygen. Is that okay? It occurs between blood and water. Now, the respiratory organ in insect is the what? Spiracle. Not trachea. No, 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 no. This is wrong. Spiracle. Option D is wrong. Which organism respire through its moist skin? Of course, earthworm respire through its moist skin. You know that. Now, which of the following respiratory diseases is caused by airway inflammation? Airway inflammation is asthma. Pneumonia affects which part of the respiratory system? The alveoli of the lung. Are you getting it? I said something like that. These are just practice questions. Does not mean they are questions that will come out exactly. Just to test your understanding of what I have explained so far. What is the main function of the circulatory system? Digestion of food, transmission of nursing, transport of material is the main function of the respiratory system. Then we have the next question here. Which of these organisms has an open circulatory system? Of course, it's an insect. The liquid that flows in the open circulatory system is called hemolymph. We said something like that. What is the function of arteries? Carry blood towards the heart, filter blood, pump blood, carry blood away from the heart. The arteries carry blood away from the heart. What kind of blood? Oxygenated blood away from the heart. Is that okay? Emphasis on that. This that carry blood away from the heart is the artery. Why the one that carries blood to the heart is the vein. Away is the artery. The pulmonary arteries carry what kind of blood? I told you that pulmonary artery carry deoxygenated blood. So that is the correct answer to that one. Let's see the next ones quickly. Now, which valve is found between the left atrium and the left ventricle? We say left atrium, left ventricle is what? Bicuspid valve. Right atrium, right ventricle, tricuspid. Which of these organism has a single circulatory system? It's fish. All right. What is the function of veins? Carry blood to the heart. What kind of blood? Deoxygenated blood. The next one. What does pulmonary circulation involve? It involves movement of blood from the heart to the lungs and then back. Are you getting it? Blood from the heart to the lungs and then back is pulmonary circulation. It's circulatory if only it comes back to where it started. That's why we call it circulatory system. All right. Double circulation is found in humans. Humans is the one that have double circulation. Is that okay? We humans, we have double circulation. Digestive system. Where does digestion begin in humans? The mouth for carbohydrate predominantly. We said protein begins in the stomach while lipid in the small intestine. Which enzyme in the saliva begins carbohydrate digestion? Salivary amylase, also called ptyalin. The movement of food through the esophagus is called peristalsis. The movement through the esophagus is called peristalsis. Is that okay? That movement is called peristalsis. Next question. Which part of the digestive system stores bile? is stored in the gallbladder, produced by the liver. The enzyme that digests protein is what? Is pepsin. The enzyme renin is important for digesting what? Make protein. We've talked about that renin for coagulation of protein. All right. Now, the product of fat digestion is, I've told you to take important note of this, fatty acids and glycerol. All right. Let's see the next one. The final digestion of food takes place in the ileum, which is the small intestine, the last part of the small intestine. All right. Which organ secretes enzymes into the duodenum? The liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder. The liver secretes bile rather. Pancreas is that enzyme that secretes, pancreas is that organ that secretes enzyme. We say it secretes pancreatic juice, which contain trypsin and renin. All right. Talked about some things like that. What is the main function of the large intestine? To absorb water and waste material. Absorb water and undigested material. Autotrophic organisms get their food by making it themselves. Are you getting it? Those ones that get their food by making it themselves are autotroph. All right. What is the function of the molar? The molar is for grinding food. Battery is low. The teeth that are used for tearing and piercing is the canine. The dental formula for an adult human, I told you, is 2123. Right? 2123. Take note. Or you may see something like 2/2, 1/1, 2/2, 3/3. Anyhow you see it is the correct thing. 2123. This is the correct way of writing it. 2/2, 1/1, 2/2, 3/3. Where this one is ICPM, incisors canine premolar molar. Which organ is responsible for mastication? Mastication, I tell you, na yum chum to chew. Na the teeth. Option C. All right. Then, what does the tongue detect? So now, a very simple question now. Taste. Which taste is detected at the back of the tongue? Bitter taste. Sweet taste is mostly detected at the what? At the tip of the tongue. What is the function of bile? I told you that bile emulsifies fats and make the fat to easily be acted on by what? Enzyme. All right. Then we have the next one. Bile is produced by the liver and stored in the gallbladder. The finger-like projection in the small intestine are called the villi. The product of starch digestion is, of course, is glucose. Proteins are broken down into what? Amino acid. Option D. All right. Proteins are broken down into amino acid. Fats are absorbed into where? Into the lacteas, which go to the what? The lymph. All right. Where does absorption mostly take place? In the small intestine. Then in insect, fluid circulating in the body is hemolymph. Which organ helps in water absorption? It is the large intestine that helps in water absorption. All right. The respiratory surface in amoeba is the cell, the general cell, the entire body. Which structure allow air into the lung? The trachea. Into the lung, definitely. If from bronchial, air enters into the lung. If you want to talk trachea to bronchi, from bronchi, it's supposed to be trachea to bronchi, from bronchi to bronchioles, from bronchioles to the alveoli of the heart. Are you getting it? So the closest is bronchial, but this question is shit. It was not properly framed. What is the main function of the lymph in circulation, fat absorption, and immunity? So these ones, they are just practice questions to check whether you understood what I have taught, not that they are your exam questions. Just for you to understand to check whether you understood what you have learned so far. So thank you very much for your time. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.